Hey guys, welcome to 6 Minutes for Tuesday, August 16th. I'm Jason Fulmore, SE Russell, and today we are talking Fat and Scrappy's Georgia 1A preseason rankings. But before I get to that, wanted to go ahead and cue you to the fact that this morning, and I need to put some qualifications on this, I'm actually recording this before Tuesday, so I don't actually know what exactly happened, but this morning, Jackson Smith from Georgia should have taken the mat, and hopefully he is preparing to wrestle in the semifinals today. So make sure you tune in and watch Jackson wrestle at the U20 World Championships in Bulgaria. Anyway, so let's jump now to the Fat and Scrappy 1A preseason rankings, and it's a great classification. The new look 1A should be outstanding. Lucas and I take a little bit of time to break down the top 10 or his top 10. Before we get to that, talk a little bit about kind of his methods in general, how he kind of came up with his scoring methods and things like that. But if you've seen that before, feel free to skip over about those 3 or 4 minutes. Just not 100% sure who's going to be able to watch all the different classifications. So if you've seen that before, it's all good. Skip over it, jump right into our conversation about Georgia 1A and the teams to watch for this coming season. We hope you enjoy it, and make sure you tell Lucas what he got right and definitely what he got wrong. Welcome to 6 Minutes. I'm Jason Fulmore, SE Russell, and today here with Fat and Scrappy's Lucas Da Silva.
Welcome.
Hey, man.
Welcome to my home, actually. So welcome to your, welcome to my home.
We are breaking down the rankings, really early rankings.
Really early. Kind of calling my shot really early here, but
all right. So these will be the team rankings, and what we'll do is we'll go with after this video, I'll add a different video talking about specific classifications. But we're opening this classification, or opening this video, and opening all the videos with a general methods, right?
Explanation.
How in the world, because Lucas doesn't do duels and tournament rankings. He does one ranking. And for some reason, he's using decimal points. I mean, I didn't know Lucas knew decimal points.
I don't. You ask my math teachers. I don't. I'm not very prolific with them. But so what's funny about this is this is great storytelling because the viewer knows what video they're watching. We don't. They could be watching 3A for all we know. But
that's right. They could
anyway, so basically, the way I do this is I look at a team we'll look at a case randomly, Buford. I'll give them a score for duels at a 5 with decimal points, and I'll give them a score at a 5 for individual with decimal points, based on their performances, their lineup, and as the season goes on, these scores will fluctuate. So this is going to be a fluid list. This is currently going into the season with what we know. 5 points is the maximum for duels, 5 points is the maximum for individual. Put those two together, you get their power score out of 10.
Okay.
And then it's just pretty simple, highest score in 1, so on and so forth.
Now, can two teams, say Camden and Buford, both get a 4.9?
Yes.
Both get a 4.8 or whatever the case is?
So the way I think it is when it comes to duels...
So it's not like you get a certain points for first and second and third.
No. Like if you're in duels and you're beating most teams by 45, 50, if you're just dominating teams, you're going to get a 5. There could be 3 or 4 teams. In fact, I think I have 4 teams in my list across the 7 classes that got a 5 in duels. I think there's 4 of them, if I remember correctly. So it just kind of depends on... It's relativity mainly, based on how they do against, their competition.
Okay, all right. So we're going to now jump into one of the classifications. Hope you enjoy it. And
which one is it?
Yeah. Welcome to 1A. Oh, welcome to 1A.
I thought I was going to make it a blooper. All right, I'm in. Sweet.
Welcome to 1A. We're talking about the 1A top 10 for Fat and Scrappy. 1A is always fun.
Yes.
I mean, for me, Tryon, Commerce, those are your typical 1As. We've got some that aren't back in 1A because they've moved up.
Mm-hmm. We have some that have moved down.
But 1A, last year it was it was Tryon, right? And then there was Social Circle, and then,
Commerce,
Pisgah, and those sorts of things. Typically, the separation has been pretty good from the top four or so down between, and then down to number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right?
And this is a year where I think that while that is similar, I think there is a closer depth of 1A than you've had before. And it comes from some of these new schools in the mix. I think it makes things a little bit more interesting, especially as we get more to the middle of the list, for sure.
So a year ago, Tryon sat in a position of returning all 14.
Yes.
Right. That's not the case this year.
No, it is not.
Right. So the question is, obviously they still have Logan Eller, they still have some hammers throughout their lineup. But boy, last year's crew was tough.
Last year's crew was special, especially when you look at in the recent history of some of these lower classifications. That team will go down as one to remember. And so now if you're Tryon, can you run it back?
And that's the question that we have, and we'll get to that in a minute. But let's do the bottom half of the top 10, where we start at number 10, Dade County, number 9, St. Francis, number 8, Elbert County, number 7, Oglethorpe County, pretty interesting, and number 6, Screven
County.
All right.
Yeah. So
are you surprised that Oglethorpe comes in at 7? I would have thought that they might be a little higher than that.
So I would have thought that as well, but I am close to the program at Oglethorpe. I've done a lot of work with them. Shane Watson, a good friend of mine. Coach Stoudenmeyer, an incredible coach, a very underrated, underappreciated coach in the state. Speaking to people within the program, that there's questions there, and again, they fell into that number 7 spot, and it has been continuously accidental. I swear to you that number 7 has become this spot in my rankings of a prove it year, where for one reason or another the program has a lot of questions, and Oglethorpe is that this year.
Okay,
you don't have your Shane Watson. You
well, they've graduated.
You graduate most of your heavy hitters now. Can they replenish? It is possible, absolutely. We've seen Stoudenmeyer do it time and time again. Right. But we don't know yet. And now you're in 1A, and you're in a different 1A. You are in a weirdly strong 1A, and with the region that they are going to be in, it makes life fairly interesting for them. And that's where my questions come in is, this is the first year that we're going to see them in 1A. That you're in with Social Circle. You're going to see Social Circle in region competition. So we're going to know very early.
Yeah.
So that's where they fit in there. Screven County, they don't graduate a lot in Screven. They return a good amount of their points. Talk about a program that undervalued because of the top level of 1A. Consistently, Screven County puts out quality wrestlers who want to battle, well conditioned, and they're in an odd position this year because this is a 1A with some questions to it.
Well, and the one team that I want to point to is St. Francis, who has the parent kids, Cade and Jace Parent, who are absolutely fantastic. And if they can find a few other pieces, tournament-wise, they're tough.
Yeah, no, that's where a lot of their points came in for me, was tournament-wise. I believe the majority of their points did come from individual.
Yeah.
I just feel like for the way that they look, and outside looking in, they are a team that, they're going to go to duels, and they're going to, they're going to go to sectional duels, and depending on the way the sectionals break out, they're going to compete. They're going to be something come individuals.
Yeah.
Like, mark my words, don't be surprised if St. Francis finishes in the top 6 in individuals.
All right.
That should not be a surprise to anybody, because when you have the parent kids, you're gonna get a bunch of points from them. All you need, like you said, maybe another kid or two place, one or two win a couple matches on the backside. Now you're looking like a real contender, and depending on the rest of the chaos and bloodbath that's going to be 1A, it could create a formula for something really weird to happen, but fun.
All right. Number 5, Pepperell.
Yep.
Always a good team, right?
Always a good team, always a fun team, and always a team that just at the end of the day, they want to go out and they want to compete. And you talk about Scrappy, and I know that's a very, how on brand of you, Lucas, but you want to talk about Scrappy. That's Pepperell, Never really a team that was focused around a couple of superstars. Yes, they've had their guys. You've had an Isaiah Bevels in the crew.
Well, and they have Waddell.
Yeah, and
I mean, right now.
Yeah, Waddell, obviously. Bear with me. I did not mean to skip over him. I'm more talking, yes, they've had stars, but they've never been built around, okay, we are superstars and everybody else. There are 4 teams, they're 14, and they can bang every weekend. And 6 points or 0.3 ahead of the rest of the pack in the bottom 5. So, but then there's a jump.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to get to, because your top 4 are your top 4. And
yes.
I think that most people in 1A, most people that are watching on the outside, would agree that the next 4 teams are the top 4 teams. In
when it comes to the postseason, the 8 trophies given out, most people would agree, and I would tend to agree, that they're going to be given out between these 4 teams in some configuration.
And number 4 is Commerce.
And
right?
Commerce.
And how close is Commerce to breaking into that top 3?
So Commerce is 0.1 points behind Pisgah, 0.3 points behind blank, and then there's a bit of a gap at the top, and I'll explain that later. But when it comes to Commerce, they have the talent. That's not part of the question. An entire new coaching staff in it, and at Commerce. Chance McClure comes in as head coach with Flint and Davis will be paired with him as assistant coaches. It's a staff that they were a part of the Commerce dynasty, the 3 of them.
Right.
When Commerce was on their dynastic run, those 3 were key parts of that. So now the question comes in, will they be able to institute the same kind of dynastic feeling and energy to that team? If they can, we're looking at a very dangerous Commerce.
It's so interesting because, like, you saw that with Jefferson. You had Thurman there for so long, and then Baird comes in.
Yes.
And, really Jefferson now becomes that program with his identity, his stamp of approval. This is what we get. This is our first look at that for Commerce.
Yeah, for the next generation for them. And it comes in a guy that, McClure, I believe between the 3 of them, they have about probably 10 state titles between the 3 of them. Rings, 40, or 30 in this case, because there's 3 of them, not 4. Lucas, you're a moron. Anyways, point being, they know how to win.
Right.
So you come into a year where in 1A there's some turnover. Is that the right time to be switching your coaching staff? It's questionable, but it happened.
And they're ready.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is they're ready. Will they make the change? Will they show that they're going to break into this top 3 and really challenge for that top spot? That is the question.
And number 3 is Pisgah, and Pisgah has got, Bertrand, Tyler Nelson,
Marley Washington.
Right. I mean, we're talking about a team that 2 years ago won.
Yes.
Right? And still has some really good pieces.
Yes, and they are a team that, when they won, there was a lot going on around that program with Mary in the military, and you had Josh Noble, who took on a really weird player-coach kind of role for them in parts of that season to keep that team together. You don't have him anymore. You don't have a David Bertrand, though.
Yeah.
You did lose some of your talent. Now, Marley, Nelson, and as you said, Joey Bertrand, the new Bluehost commit. Shout out to Joey Bertrand, by the way.
That is correct.
Congratulations, flowers and whatnot, joining the brother and sister in Presbyterian.
Yeah, which is cool.
It's awesome. There will be questions to them. Can they make that next step? We saw last season they finished comfortably in their spot. I mean, we kind of knew how it was going to finish out.
Well, we suspected.
Yes,
I mean,
there was a heavy suspicion that it was going to
Yes.
finish that way. And I believe that we both pretty much called it exactly. I think we maybe flipped 3rd and 4th, maybe, when we did our preview. But point being, they are a fun team. They're interesting. And it's they're 0.1 points ahead of Commerce. And then they're 0.3 behind my number 2, the defending champion Tryon Bulldogs.
Right.
And it just comes down to Tryon having to replace this talent.
Which is tough. I mean, because last year you didn't have to have Logan Eller go out there.
No, you didn't.
And because you just had 14 of them.
You had 14
ready
murderers.
to go, right? I mean, they were from top to bottom one of the best. If you had to pound for pound rankings last year,
they would have been in the top 4 easily.
They were
in
a
my
fantastic
head.
team.
4 to 5 for sure.
But this is a different team.
Yes, it's a new look Tryon. A Tryon still, by the way, you still have your Logan Eller. You still have some of your guys. But you now have to hope that some of these backups, these 8th graders that come in,
step in.
Yes, and I think that they can, obviously, but we think. We don't know. And that's why they're in that number 2 spot.
And that leads us to our number 1 or to to Fat and
The
Scrappy's number
Social
one.
Circle Redskins a full 1.1 points ahead of Tryon.
Easy for him to say.
Yeah, for sure. Say that 3 times fast. And the reason behind that difference in those two, because that's going to draw some eyes, I would imagine, is the actual point differential. Social Circle returns everybody.
So
And no-
well, they
Sorry,
don't
they-
return their top.
No.
Their top kids like 195, 220, 285.
They don't return
right?
their heavies.
But boy, from 6 to 82,
They return-
They are tough.
They're tough, and I'm going to go on record saying this. Yes, you have your coaching staff. Why am I losing his name for the life of me? I love their staff, too. I was actually just at a practice with their guys. Oh, Madone.
Your former head coach or Coach Prater?
Prater, thank you. Prater, Etheridge, and the whole crew. You have
Okay.
their actual whole high school staff is fantastic.
It is.
Don't get
Not even just their high school staff. Like
that's what I'm getting. Don't get it twisted. But the unsung hero of that team, in my opinion, the unsung hero of Georgia wrestling as a whole is Robert Klein. He is the X factor when it comes to a guy's going to make a difference in your program. Having Robert Klein running his team out of your gym where your guys can train with him every single day, it's invaluable. And to me, having seen the jumps that certain guys like Jackson Etheridge has made, guys like Braden Mitchell and a CJ Duran and the whole crew, top to bottom,
Right?
they are coming into the season just hungrier than ever.
So I saw them at Disney Duels, right? Now, they did have Ethan Epps up top and Landon Moss
Yeah,
was plugged in and those sorts of things. And those were their three kind of out of their school at the Disney Duels. But I will tell you, the Casey Taylors and the,
Casey, I didn't even mention Casey Taylor.
They're
God.
Braden Mitchell and so on and so forth. That is a good team. That is a good team from top to bottom. Tryon will be pushed to defend.
Yes, and
against
that's
Social Circle.
where just the way it worked out for me, that was what it came down to was if I had to pick it right now, I say if you tell me right now to pick all the champions, I have Social Circle winning both. Right now, if I just go just by my score system, they have the highest dual score, highest individual score. Returning. Now that could change. If we see that Tryon walks into one of these tournaments and all of a sudden they're starting to murder people again, it's like, oh, well then.
now you got some popcorn, right?
Yeah, exactly. That score is going to change for sure. So that's the biggest question to me is how are they going to react to that change?
All right. So that is your top 10 for 1A. Like we said before and some of the other ones, that might change. This is very early in the high school, like getting ready to start high school or getting ready to start the academic year.
Exactly.
Coming up.
Preseason, let's call it.
Preseason, as Lucas likes to say. So we still have a lot of wrestling to happen over the fall. Maybe there's some transfers. Maybe this happens. Maybe that happens. This might all change come October. Hopefully Lucas will drop back in and we can do this one more time before the season starts.
Yeah, I think that we'll try to get back around October after there is some Super 32s, your
Grappler Fall Classic.
Thank you. Couldn't think of the name. Sorry,
Yeah.
but your Grappler Fall Classic, your Super 32s, and we're gonna get some good competition to see how some of these individuals are gonna play out throughout the year, and then that'll give us a really good eye on the actual score systems for them.
All right, so that's 1A. We appreciate you guys tuning in. See ya. Bye.